Okay, welcome to the webinar today, July 26, 2018. We've got a lot on our agenda today. We won't be rushed like crazy today, but it's going to be good. There's going to be some really good information here. A couple of big rocks. I am Wesley Booth. I'm a customer care agent here in Tucson, our main Diamond Support call center. I'm on the national accounts team, so I've talked to a couple of you this week already, working with your cases, your situations that you're working with in your firms and your clients. My passion is for training. I always kind of gravitate to make sure that everybody is up to speed and is able to do everything they can through training. I've been here a little over 4 years, and I'm in Tucson. And we're going to jump into our program today. So the first thing I want to cover here is we got one announcement. The announcement's more of a QBO update, so I'll cover that. We'll cover our learning objectives for the topics listed here. We have 5 presentations today. We now have a standalone payroll product, where before you could have QuickBooks only, but now we also have the complementary payroll as a standalone, so a lot of people only need the payroll. We have heard your voice. We are moving into adding permissions to different QBO user roles. So the first one's going to be payroll access. We got a couple of new features in the Find a Pro Advisor website, and we have a huge, major update to banking feeds. And I know when you see this, more than half the bank connections are going to be affected by this. It's major improvement. You're going to love working with the new connection. And we got 2 really requested reports, one for bills and one for invoices that we'll get into. And again, our focus today is U.S. content. Obviously, some other regions, timing and a little bit of tweaking may vary a little bit. So if there's any webinar system issues, if you can't hear, that's what this slide is, and if they can't hear me, they can't hear me talking anyway. But you want to just write that phone number down in case you do have some problems with the webinar. Every webinar we have a couple of people that seem to have some audio problems, so we want to make sure you got the information you need for that. We will provide 1.5 CPE credits today. You must answer all polling questions throughout the training. There will be 5, and they will be numbered, so you know exactly the sequence they're in. This is eligible for 1.5 CPE hours, and those CPE certificates will be emailed directly to the email address that you received the invitation from, that you joined the link from. If there's people doubling up, we can only issue the one that's registered. And so that bottom tip, you might want to make a note of that accountant_training@intuit.com is where those CPEs will be emailed to you in approximately 3 weeks, give or take a few days or so. Okay, we got learning objectives. Want to make sure you understand how to set up a standalone payroll client for the first topic. The next topic, payroll permissions. We're going to show you, and so you're going to understand how to enable or disable a company admin in QBO from being able to access payroll information. Find a Pro Advisor. You can now reply to those reviews and increase your engagement with your clients. So we're going to show you how to do that. So that's going to be good for those that keep an eye on that page. New bank feed will make many of our connections much more reliable. We're going to entirely new back-end system. And we have an invoice report and a bill report that are going to show when payments have been applied. So that's been a big ask. So we're going to get into those. This webinar is part of Intuit QuickBooks University, so I just want to give a plug for the host of this program. And so the link will be on the handout slide that we'll get to everybody. And also, I always want to highlight on this that not only do you have training here, if you have clients that are new to QBO, you can take them to this, and notice there on the left, small business. This is so the QBO, QuickBooks Online users can get some training. So we're trying to help you out and get your clients up to speed at the level so they can be more efficient in using their QBO product and saving you having to redo their work. So we want to make sure you take advantage of that. I'm seeing we're getting a few people with sound issues, so I just want to make sure that they have capture that information so they can address that if they need to. Okay, we're going to jump into the first topic. This will be pretty quick. In QBO, when a company has payroll, in the past, if an employee, let's say they had deposited some of their money directly in a savings account, but most of their paycheck went into their checking account. So when you set up an employee, you can split their payroll deposit between two bank accounts. Well, we've created a feature that's going to solve a big headache because we didn't allow you to reconcile that double transaction very well at the bank side. So now this is what it's going to look like at the bank, okay, and that's what it looks. So we'll have, notice the top one and the bottom one, the $15 and the $5 and the 2 in the middle. Those are the matching ones, the 2 in the middle, the $10. Those are matching transactions for employee 1, and the other, the 5 and the 15 are the matching transactions for the other employee. And so when they get downloaded from the bank in your bank feed, now notice you can see the bright green, one record found, one record found. If you notice, a $5 matches the $5 and a $15 matches the $15. But now if you notice in the middle for Cheryl, there's 2 records, but since the exact same amount, we're being asked which one's which makes sense when you have 2 identical dollar amount transactions with everything else being the same. So that's going to be quite a bit more helpful with on the banking screen. And then this is what it's going to look like when you actually bring those into the check register, the account register there. So you'll see that there's 2 items. We can match them, download from the bank. So that's going to help the reconcile process significantly when you have any of the payroll people with, 2 deposits, a split deposit on that paycheck. So with that, let me deal with the handout here for just a moment. We do have a handout, so you want to grab that little paper icon there that I have highlighted and see if you can download that. We've had a few people that can download it and some that can't. For those that are unable to download it, if you could make a comment in the question box. So if you find that question chat room box, if you can't download the handout or grab it, let us know. And if there's an error or any kind of difficulty, let us know what the problem is with that. That way we can provide the GoToWebinar system people, their support team, the details to make sure that they can address anything that's not working with the system. So if you can download it, that's fine. If you can't, go ahead and put the error message in there. So I want to make sure that we capture all that feedback there for the, sometimes I feel like I'm calling in on QBO when I call because, using somebody else's system that's not working the way we want it to. So, okay, with that said, we're going to jump into our presentations today. We're actually about a minute ahead of schedule, so we're going to be doing well today. And for our first topic today, we have the new standalone payroll. And, we know that there's a significant portion of people getting started, small businesses getting started with their bookkeeping and accounting process. They start with payroll. And then later, many, many times, they actually, once they get started with payroll, then they move on to get the accounting going. So in the past, we didn't have a clean way to do that. And to hear about that today and introduce this topic, we have Ryan Ward. And Ryan's product manager. He's a new person here at Intuit, but he's on the payroll team. And he's working on a number of different payroll-related topics. He's in Mountain View. And his passion is people. In fact, it must be, a little tidbit. Him and his wife are expecting their first baby boy coming up here in a couple of months. So you might want to just give a shout out to Ryan and congratulate him on that. So thanks for presenting today, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Wesley. I'm really excited to present to the group here. We just want to introduce our, I guess we'll call it our new payroll product, but it's more about a repackaging of QuickBooks Online Payroll, our existing payroll, to meet our customers where they need them. As Wesley introduced about, if my presentation will move forward here, there we go, about nearly half of small business employers start with payroll. So right now we force this decision if they'd like QuickBooks Payroll to also have everything that comes with QBO and the accounting features. What we're trying to do is just be where our customers are and meet them with the service they need and have a right for them product. We'll just kind of clearly reiterate again, this is just a repackaging of our existing payroll product, and what I want to iterate here is that this is QuickBooks Online Payroll and has all the existing features of QuickBooks Online Payroll, but we're also throwing in a few new enhancements moving forward. So calling out the benefits of same-day direct deposit and our 24-hour direct deposit with contractor payments, everything you get with filing year-end tax forms and unlimited payroll runs, that is all standard. What we will be adding moving forward is things like the basic accounting features accountant features you have with QBOA, and we're working with a number of members on the team here to enable that, as well as activating QuickBooks Online. So you start with payroll, and we've got a large team here working on getting that to you as soon as possible. So when clients come to you that are on this product, you can quickly say, great, you need accounting, and I don't need to create a new account for you. I can just activate accounting. And then the third one, as you guys have probably seen as accountants, clients are often really low confidence in running payroll themselves, but more importantly, there's tons of surprises that come with payroll. It's a pretty in-depth compliance task. So we're adding what we're calling an overview screen, which we're targeting for very quickly in the next, I'll say, few months to get a V1 out there so that users are always on task and there are no more surprises, which hopefully will also make your jobs easier as accountants. So I'll pause, or I'll kind of move forward right into the product, show you what it looks like, and I'm hoping that you'll see it and say, man, this looks really familiar. So as you can see, and I'll give it a second to load here, what we have is, it looks exactly like QuickBooks, just trimmed down a little bit. And hopefully when you see the first screen with payroll, it is the same employee list, same run payroll features that you would get. We also have the contractor features that live under the Workers tab in QuickBooks Online, including direct deposit. You can pay contractors and employees by check or direct deposit. And then we have all the expected reports that go with payroll, as well as the tax features and things like user management. So I won't go deep into how the product works. If you've used our QuickBooks Online Payroll product, you'll know exactly what's going on. And that's pretty much the demo. And so we'll have a few minutes here just for questions, and I'll just go back to our presentation. And I'll pipe down for questions, and we're looking forward to it.
Okay, sorry about that. Thanks, Ryan. Couple of questions here I want to just kind of orientate the audience to. So a lot of people that use payroll understand we have an Intuit online payroll. So with this payroll, I mean, think about the workflow, because right now a lot of the people on the line, if they have standalone payroll clients, they have IOP. So how is this going to benefit them?
Yeah, absolutely. So with IOP, there's a couple things. One is it's outside of the QuickBooks ecosystem. So it's a very functional product that we love and we're going to continue to support. So I want to make that clear. That product is not going anywhere anytime soon. So we'll continue to support it. But we can iterate and provide more value within QuickBooks and innovate faster to get customers things like the speed of money movement and the ability to self-onboard contractors and employees. So the benefit will be that you can start with QuickBooks and remain on QuickBooks instead of having to jump back and forth between IOP and QuickBooks or QuickBooks Desktop or whatever other features you're using.
Okay, so they could start with this new QuickBooks Online payroll product. And then what would be the process of, can they, let's say we get a new payroll client and then after 2 weeks from the webinar here, they want to turn on the QuickBooks. Is that available today? Or is that a feature that's coming?
Yeah. The activating of QuickBooks is a feature that is coming. It's coming very quickly. So if you can wait, I'll say a few months, but that it'll be out very soon, where users can start with payroll, turn on accounting, and all of their payroll data should be ready in the accountant pieces.
Okay, so here's a
So there's
question for.
I'll call out another additional benefit is
Yeah.
you won't have to manually export data from IOP into QuickBooks Online Accounting. It will be there when you're ready for it.
So when they do turn on QuickBooks, the data is just going to be part of QuickBooks as soon as they turn on QuickBooks then?
Yes.
Okay, so that'll be good. If they don't have QBO right now, then that'll be a good point of reference. So the question here, obviously, existing accountants here with many clients, how does is there an advantage right now if you need to plug somebody in the payroll that doesn't need QuickBooks of this product over IOP? Because I actually work with a number of people that don't use the product in QBO, the payroll. A lot of people I work with use IOP and then they export and they have hundreds of their clients in that situation. So for them, they're not really robust with the payroll inside QBO. So they're like, well, does it have the features? Is it going to be working? How does that compare if we're trying to compare two sets of apples here?
Yep, so the question is, if I have a client that is new to me and they just need payroll, should I go with IOP or QuickBooks Online Payroll?
Right, which one's going to give me the best bang for my buck, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely the best bang for your buck is QuickBooks Online Payroll. The benefits there are truly what we deliver with the QuickBooks, which is confidence in accounting and confidence to run your product. The major benefit we have with our payroll right now against any other payroll provider is our speed of money movement. So you can, if you're on our full service payroll product, you can run payroll the same day. Along with on our full service payroll product, we have the guarantee of your tax filings. Similarly, the benefits of QuickBooks Online Payroll, if you start with that, will be everything that is coming in the next few months, which is the accountant features QBOA, which is our preferred version versus IOP for A, as well as the items with the new, what we're calling the overview screen, and then your ability to activate QBO and have a right from me product where you don't need to jump between different services. That being said, IOP is a fantastic product, and we'd love, if it is the product that you think is the best for your clients, we're obviously going to continue to support that.
Yeah, so I want to address all the people that are using IOP, or there's a few people that don't use IOP. They're going like, what's IOP? IOP stands for Intuit Online Payroll. It's a standalone product that I know I work with one accountant. She has like 600 payroll clients with no QuickBooks, just in IOP. So if all they needed was payroll, that's what we had for the people that only needed payroll. But now that we have, we're moving a bigger ecosystem where we're putting a lot of resources, and this online payroll that Ryan's talking about really has a lot of resources behind it. So in the future, that's going to continue to move forward as we upgrade our QBO ecosystem. It's tied right to it, so it's going to be the future. It's really the future, because we're all about this integration of our one Intuit, one QBO ecosystem. So a couple of really quick questions there before I let you go, Ryan. We always have some people from desktop, hey, well, how does this work with the desktop? How does this compare after the fact? A couple of the big rocks that desktop payroll people want to know about.
Yeah, fantastic. So how does, just kind of reiterating, how does QuickBooks Online Payroll in this new package work with QuickBooks Desktop? Right now, as you mentioned, we're working on activating QBO, as this is the online product, and similar to the QuickBooks Online, we are prioritizing getting the QBO, the online portion of accounting. And then what we're doing is learning from our customers that are signing up for this, and from a lot of our IOP customers, the Intuit Online Payroll customers that export to desktop today, and figuring out how should that work. Should it be a part of this product? And we're hearing early feedback that, yes, we need to support desktop, and of course we do. It's our flagship product, and it's a fantastic product we need to support. So our team very soon will be looking into how to migrate that data to desktop, similar to how IOP, but hopefully even better.
Yeah, thanks for that comment, and that actually triggers another comment I want to make to the audience here. Notice he mentions we're going to take your feedback as we build this out. And that is true with everything we're doing now, everything we're presenting today. If you have a comment, feedback, question, rant, rave, hey, I'd like to see this feature request. I don't understand how this still works. You'll be able to review the webinar after next week. We'll have it posted. Find your question box there. Put your questions in. Feedback, concerns. Hey, I got a suggestion. How about if it does this? The reason why I'm asking for this is Ryan's going to read every single one of these comments today when the webinar is over. He's going to take every single one of these comments back to his team, and they're going to go like, oh, we forgot about this. We got this. Oh, good. We're moving in the right direction, because you as our accountant partners are the ones that use the products to the maximum every day. You're the best source of information as we develop these things. So just want to say thank you, Ryan, for presenting today, and you'll have to tell us when the new babies arrive. So we're going to jump into...
Wesley, sorry to interrupt. There are two items I just wanted to call out. First is I forgot to mention, this is what we're calling a limited release. So it's not available through all of our channels yet as we continue to learn and want to move a little slower to move faster in the future. So you can get to this product through payroll.com and through our sales agents. And secondly, as you guys are very connected to our QuickBooks partners and ecosystem, if you hear someone refer to this product as Payroll First, that is an internal naming that we've been using because it's users starting with Payroll First. So if you hear that, just know that it is QuickBooks Online Payroll.
Yeah, okay, great. You got a link. So go ahead and get that link over to me. Brian, if you just put it in that presenter chat box, and then my team can post it to the audience. And that way we get that out to everybody. And then also get that out, and then we'll make sure we get that included in a follow-up email as well. So with that, thanks for presenting today, Ryan. Appreciate that. And that final item.
So I'm Thiago Calheiros. I'm product manager at QuickBooks Online Payroll. I've been working at Intuit for 3.5 years. But I joined Payroll in the past 3 months. I'm working in Mountain View. My passion is to deliver time savings and increase confidence for accountants, small business. And I have personally just became dad, and I'm in love with baby Arthur. So my presentation today, as mentioned, I'm going to be talking about the new user permission payroll access. So I'm going to first talk about the customer problem, what we're doing to solve it, and then after that I'm going to show some screenshots of the from and to experience, and then we can go to the Q&A. So about the customer problem, one thing that we always heard from our clients is that as of now, there's no way to restrict access from bookkeepers from payroll. So what happens is that sometimes small business owner, they have a firm, and that person who is running doing the books and also running payroll, doing the books, they have full access to payroll, and what happens is that they sometimes can see other employees' salaries, and this might even become a deal breaker for some people when they are choosing their payroll product. So what we did, we're creating this new permission, which is payroll access. So whenever you're creating a user or editing a custom user, you're going to have here on the right side the option for payroll access. And then if you uncheck that, your customers will not be able to access payroll. So let me talk more about what it really means and talk a little bit about the timeline. So what it really means, we are working like in two big areas of QBO. So in the first area, we're going to restrict access for payroll on all the areas. And there's another area that we're going to be masking the data. That's what I call the tentacles of payroll in other sections of QBO. So for instance, for run payroll and payroll reporting, this user will not have access at all. But whenever they are running QBO reports, the data that you should have as a payee name, it's going to be masked as just a payroll. Right now, we're starting in July with 10% of the traffic, and we're going to be in the next few weeks moving this to 100%. So in August, we should have all this initial stage, and we are working on improving as well the reconciliation and the bank match area for that. So you should see that we're gonna be delivering like the full benefit in the next few months for sure. So let me show a little bit of what it really means. So So first, like this is the screenshot that this person is going to see when they try to click on workers and the tab employees. So as you can see here, they are just going to have you don't have access to this. Another example related to masking data here, for instance, this is a QBO report. As you can see on the top left, as of now, an admin could see a paycheck and see the name of the person who is getting paid. What's going to happen next is that this person's name will be payroll, and then they are not going to have access of who's this person. Even though they can still run the books, they can run report, they can do everything, it's just that the name is masked now. Another example here, as you can see, is the bank register. So you can see on the column there on the top side that my name is there for a paycheck, but then in the future state for this person, it's going to be just payroll. Same thing that you're going to see when you're doing the bank match. Whenever a payroll transaction is matched to a bank transaction, we're going to also mask the pay name, and it's going to show payroll instead of the name of the person. So before I go to Q&A, like I've been working on several initiatives related to accountants, and I'm really very happy if you talk to any of you to learn more about your current experience with payroll and try to understand what we could do to improve your current experience. So let me go to Q&A now.
Okay, so Thiago, if you could just go back to that last slide there. I just want to talk to that a little bit.
Okay.
Let me just go back to that feedback slide there. So there's two things I'm going to ask here. So if you want to specifically have a conversation with the team, Thiago is saying, hey, I want to talk to the team. Go ahead and put your name and phone number in that question box. Because we have your email, so we won't need that, but we need your name and phone number. If we don't have your name and phone number, we will not reach out to you. Now, he's not going to be able to necessarily reach out to everybody because I see we already have probably a dozen people in there. So, but one thing I want to bring up here in response to some of the questions, you know, even the past presentation on feature sets, what works, what doesn't work. That's why we need your information here, your comments and feedback, because nothing's perfect. We're all kind of humans on the planet. I know I'm not perfect, and I've never met anybody that was yet. So our products are not perfect. We understand there's shortcomings, there's features. We can't build out every option next week, but what's the biggest impact? What's the most needed feature? Go ahead and put those in the chat room, in that question box. And if you specifically want to be on the list, because with all the people putting in their name and phone number, may not be able to reach out to all of you, but we at least want your feedback on this and all of our products moving forward. So, yeah. Okay, so with that push for feedback, presentation. So if you could go back a couple of slides there, Thiago, that'd be helpful. Back one more. Okay, so let's, in fact, even one more. Let's go back one more. Yeah, okay. So when we do these transaction, you know, so if we're doing, let's say, reconcile or, so when somebody does not have that checkbox in their permissions when their account's invited, this is what they would see when they go to get payroll, correct? They would just see payroll names.
Exactly. So as mentioned, like we're looking in all areas of QBO that a payee name could be surfaced, and we're masking that payee name.
Right, and I want to mention one thing additional to what Thiago just said. We're in a process, so you're going to find a few, a little bit fringe areas that are not masked as of today, as when this rolls out to everybody. So we're working on it. We know there's a lot of things, but when you think about payroll, there's tentacles that go all the way through QuickBooks. So we're working on all those and see. So here, masking data, here's what's available now, and then here's what's coming soon. just as we get out these tentacles, you know, we're going to find more and more of those. But I'm going to say from the payroll conversations I've had, we're going to cover the most of the points that are the real pain point. Obviously, reconcile and bank match. That'd be nice to have it today. But all the other ones, you know, where people just can't go in there and look at the payroll data. So that's all going to be really good. So let me see if we got any questions here. What's the availability of this feature there, Tiago?
So as of now, we already launched 10% of the customer base. So we're going to be rolling out this first column that you see for July, August, and that I think in the next 3-4 weeks it should be 100% for the first column, July and August. And the coming soon here, we're already working on it. I can't commit to any date, but it's really coming soon. So
right. Okay. So yeah, that's why we had this today, because 10% of the QBO payroll clients already have this in their product today. So that's why we wanted to get this out to you instead of waiting until next month when everybody has it. So I have one other question. If they have an existing company user, those that have this feature, will they be able to go in there and edit that company admin to check that box now when this feature is on?
Exactly. So what happened is that I think the first correction is like it's not on the admin, it's on the custom role. Whenever creating a new user, it's you select custom, and that's what you have the options. Admins are admins. By definition, they have access to everything. So if you're creating a custom role, as of now, the new people will be able to select, but if they already there, you can just click on edit, and you're going to be able to check or uncheck the payroll access.
Right. And also one more thing I'd like to take off. So if you have a company admin in there right now, you might want to consider if you want to, you know, obfuscate the whole payroll thing, because you can edit people's users' role. If somebody's already a company admin, you can turn them into a custom and select some things. So just be aware of the options now we're opening up to you. So let me just check, see if we have any other questions here for you. We got a lot of specific questions. Oh, this is a good one. Is that going to be a default option on that custom user, or is that something you're going to have to select when you create that?
So whenever you create a custom user, it's going to be pre-checked when you're creating. So you want to check. But for those custom users that are live right now, they are going to be checked as of now. So they will still have access to payroll. We're not taking people's access to payroll like all of a sudden. We're just, the people will have to go there and uncheck so that they can change the restrictions.
Okay, if you could maybe move over to that slide so they get a visual on that.
You mean the, oh, sorry, it's this one.
Yeah, okay, so they're on the right. So it'd be a custom user, and many of you are used to, you know, whether they limited or all. So that will be, you know, so you just have to check all your custom users for that checkbox there. Okay, yep. So we're doing good on time, and Tiago will get all your comments, so he'll get back to you on some of the questions. I don't really have time here for every specific questions, but yeah, go ahead and put your questions in there if you have any feedback, other things that you'd like to see. We're going to be rolling out a bunch of new user permissions.
Okay, hello. Hi, we're live.
Cool. Hi, Jackie. Okay, so we have another Pro Advisor, Find a Pro Advisor features on our website. In the past webinars, we've covered some major overhaul. This isn't a major overhaul today. It's a couple of things that were pain points or irritations for you, so we've dealt with those. You can now reply to the reviews coming in, and also we get to let you edit what that address is you share with your clients for your reviews. So to present those topics today, we have Jacqueline, and she's here she's in Mountain View, and she's on the accountant team, and they're doing a lot of work revamping the larger team of the certification process and the whole Find a Pro Advisor team. So they're doing a lot, busy team. And her passion is really connecting small businesses with their most trusted advisors. And that's really what this Find a Pro Advisor website's all about. And just as a personal note, she loves to play classical guitar. So thanks for presenting today, Jacqueline.
Thank you so much, Wesley. Yeah, we're super excited. Like you mentioned, these are pretty lightweight, small but mighty, because they do answer a lot of the pain points that you guys have, been communicating to us. So let's get right into it. First of all, reply to a review. In a nutshell, accountants are currently not able to respond to the reviews that they see on their page. Why it matters? Well, you want to be able sometimes to think a positive review, or maybe address the concerns of a more negative one and see how you can work together to make this better. And overall, this will make you look like a more engaged accountant. Overall, reviews are very, very important when a client is making the decision to reach out to an accountant. So see me like a more engaged accountant, and us allowing you to do this will potentially increase all the leads that you get from new customers. So let me show you what's going on. Previously, you weren't able to respond, and now you'll be able to see, your customers will be able to see all of the responses that you've put on your profile. But let me show you a quick demo so it can be a little bit more clear of where you can find all of these exciting new features. So here we are in your Pro Advisor page. If you scroll right to the bottom, you will now see a reply button, which you can click on. Now we see that this is a very positive review. We want to leave this user a thank you note. So we type it out real quick, hit reply. We have to wait a little bit because this reply will go through our usual process of verification for content. But once it's all done, you will immediately see the response there. After we verify, saying thank you. It's a pleasure working with you and helping you grow your business. Once the customer is able to see this in their review page, they will think, man, that is such an engaged accountant. I really want to work with them. So we're super excited to bring this new feature to you. It will be going live on Monday, so coming up very soon, and we are delighted to bring this to you, and we hope that it brings more delight to your business and your experience with our portal. And now I will bring you a little bit of a sneak peek into the next feature that we're currently working on that's coming right after Reply to Review, which is Edit URL. It addresses one of the top VOCs that we've received. So for example, read this first one, the incorrect name on my profile. How can I change it from Wanda Leonard to Ellen Gardner? Basically, life happens. People get married, they change the name, positions change, and suddenly someone else is taking care of the firm or of the position. And so you want to change the URL name. As you can see here at the bottom, with your URL, here is the name Nate Schmidt. Maybe he wants to change it because he's gotten married and changed his last name. So how can you do that? Well, we've worked really hard to bring you this new edit button where before you weren't able to edit your URL, and now you can click a pencil, much like this one, change the name to your new URL name, and click Save. Simple, easy, but very powerful. It will allow people to reroute to the right professional that they're looking for. So let me show this to you in a very quick video that is a sneak peek. So here we go. As you can see, we go up to the little pencil icon, click on it, and attempt to edit. If we do the correct name and click Save, let it load a little. And after a bit of loading time, we see that you've changed your URL name too many times. And so this is a small way to error check. We will only be allowing you to change your URL name 5 times. And so we just want to let you know that, you're not allowed to go in and change it a bajillion times. But once you do edit it, as I showed you over here, and you click Save, if you choose a name that matches, such as Rebecca, and you click Save, that will automatically be saved for you. There are a few other error messages that you may receive, such as if you're not choosing something other than the hyphen, such as an exclamation mark. But overall, it should be a pretty seamless and smooth transition for you. All right. And with that, I will open up the floor to questions.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. If you go back to that last slide you're on, please. I have a question for you on that. So if you have questions, the audience, on either the features, the reviews, or this URL, please go ahead and put those into the question box. Obviously, these are kind of small, very specific items. So I got a question for you on that, Jackie. You were on the,
right,
where
which slide?
where you edit the URL. That's where my question is on that. So what happens if my name is John Smith? There's probably more than one John Smith.
Yeah, right. We're not allowing for, correct. We'll give you, just like I showed you in the demo, we'll show a very user-friendly error message saying that you are choosing a duplicate URL, and so you'll get to try again until we find a URL that's not duplicate.
Okay, so it will tell them if it's a duplicate, and then it is verifying for probably a long checklist of verifiable, internet safe and friendly and all that other good stuff. Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll handle all of that for you.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that if the name is duplicate, it'll warn you up front, and then obviously everybody's going to have to figure out, throw a middle initial or your firm name or something at the end of that. So any other, okay, so this is going to be rolling out at when? Okay, I'll ask questions on the first feature just a moment. When is this feature going to be rolling out?
Right, so as I mentioned, reply to review will be rolling out on Monday, and edit URL will be coming soon, right after. Hopefully by Friday of next week, we'll have this live and ready to go for everyone.
Okay, so the review, is that going to get turned on for everybody at once, or is that a phased rollout like many of our QBO products are?
Yeah, that will roll out for everyone at once. If you have reviews already on your profile, you will see that button. The only reason why you wouldn't see it is if you don't have any existing reviews.
Okay. Okay. So let me just check for questions here. Okay. So names changed and new features. Now, okay. So you can leave a comment for that review. Does that reviewer get that comment that you share?
No, not yet. But that's something that we're definitely looking at. This is the initial phase, and so depending on the VOC that we receive, we'll be looking at making that happen. Okay,
so I don't know if everybody caught what she said. The term VOC that's one of those Intuit acronyms that means voice of the customer. So if you want to be able to have an ongoing conversation, go ahead and put some feedback in that question box, because that's a question. If you get a review, can the customer, is there a conversation? So let's go ahead, if you want that issue addressed, go ahead and give us your feedback, so that way Jackie and her team can take that and address that. So let me see if, so the review, respond to reviews is next week, and then within about a week or so after that, and I'm being vague on that because sometimes we do have a delay of a day or so. So next week we'll start seeing the reviews feature, and then about a week later we'll start seeing this. Okay, so anything else, Jackie, you want to throw in there before we let you go?
No, just thank you so much for your time. We're really excited to be presenting these two features to you guys. Please let us know all of your feedback. We love to hear it, and we love to make a better experience for you guys. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jackie. Okay, so we're going to do a quick poll question here, and we're actually running a little bit early. So bank feeds, this is a big topic, and so yeah, bank feeds. I know I probably talked with a number of you on the bank feeds. We're doing a major overhaul on the back end of this, and to present this major update to the bank feeds, we have Jason Willoughby. He's a senior customer experience specialist here in Tucson. He's, all on that team about getting the data in the QuickBooks. We have a goal here to, reduce the amount of work needed to make QuickBooks work for your customers. And that's one of the things here he's working on with this, is removing the barriers to increase that efficiency. And I've talked to Jason offline a lot. He's a really great resource. He knows his stuff. And thanks for presenting today, Jason.
Thanks, Wesley. So kind of like you hinted on, we have an upcoming change for some of the biggest financial institutions in the U.S. And it's mostly going to be behind the scenes. But the reason why we're sharing this today is actually, depending on how often you connect accounts, you might actually notice some of the differences as you go through the add a new connection flow. And there's also a few minutes on what happens for customers who are currently connected to these big banks and what their experience will be in the coming months. So if we talk about the agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about customer benefit. Why is it important for us to be updating some of the backend systems behind banking? Then we'll kind of go through what's changing, who's all impacted, and then we'll talk about overall timing a little bit. Right, and so the biggest customer benefit for kind of updating the behind the scenes on how we get transactions from the bank is probably the most important, and it's a more reliable connection. Right now, we know that sometimes bank connections will run into an error, that sometimes they'll solve really quickly, sometimes they linger on a little bit. That causes interruptions in the data, which is never good, right? So you may have time periods where data didn't come through, which makes it hard to keep your books accurate. And so these changes overall should improve the data quality coming in from the bank, which will allow everyone, accountants, small businesses, anyone in our system to be much more accurate with what they're putting into QuickBooks, and we won't have to worry about as much as error codes and those sorts of things. Right, and so if we talk a bit about the current experience, it's pretty straightforward. You click Add Account in QBO or QBSE. You get a window over here on the kind of top left where it lets you type in your bank name or choose one of the biggest ones from the list. You immediately get a sign-on page where you enter the credentials for your bank's website. Just make sure you're not a robot, and then you see the window down on the bottom right where it says we're connecting to that bank to pull down the that initial set of transactions. And so one of the subtle changes you'll see with the upcoming kind of changes on the back end is we're actually connecting to the bank a different way. And so instead of kind of storing the credentials and relying heavily on the credentials to log in, the new way will actually kind of on the back end will be connected to your bank like an app would. And so you'll actually see into it under the, usually somewhere in the security settings of your bank site as a connected app, right? And so in order to make that happen, we'll actually, as part of the sign up flow, we go from the search bank screen, we'll actually have to redirect you to your bank's page. So you still got to make sure you're not a robot, but up on the top left here, you'll see we actually launch a little window. Sorry about that. We'll actually launch a little window where you're signing in directly to your bank site, and you can see the URL and stuff at the top actually is the bank site. And then once you do that, it'll actually list out the accounts you have at the bank, and you checkboxing these accounts, and you're still in your bank's little website here, the window for your website. This is allowing, you're saying which accounts do you want to give access to, or Intuit access to, right? And so once you choose the accounts you want to give access to, and click Give Access, that's then creating that kind of token for Intuit to be able to log, to get into your bank site to get the transactions for that account. And then you'll see the same screen at the end of, say, connecting to Chase Bank. And both, the steps before these screens and the steps after these screens are identical, no matter what kind of connection you are on the, or you're using on the back end. And so it's a really subtle change. for new users, they'll, or someone who doesn't connect an account very often, they'll probably never notice a difference, right? Pretty straightforward, nothing too complicated. We walk you right through it. Now, this was all for a brand new connection that's never been in QuickBooks before. But we know that we have, hundreds of thousands of connections today for some of the biggest banks. And obviously Chase is one of them. In a later slide, I'll actually list out a few of the other big ones that we'll be connecting to. But we have hundreds of thousands of connections to these banks. So over the course of the next couple of months, users with those connections, and Chase being one of them, will actually start to see these kind of little warning windows pop up on the banking page. And basically, these dates are just kind of example dates. And so don't take the dates on this slide, too seriously. But essentially what will happen is they'll get kind of a first warning that says, hey, there's an opportunity for you to update your bank's connection. And you have until some date to do it with a little blue link that says update now. And clicking that update now will send them through kind of like that first time connection flow. They'll just have to relog into their bank, choose the accounts that they've already have connected, and say give access, and then everything else will happen in the back end. But as they get closer to that date, the warning will be a little more serious, right? We'll kind of go to yellow. It says, hey, you only have this many days to connect. Please update now. And then when that date actually surpasses, then they'll actually say like, hey, we're not downloading your transactions anymore. You have to fix this now. And so the suggestion I would say, for all you guys is if you see one of your client's accounts, this message pop up on the banking page, let's make sure that whoever has access to that bank, let's get them into QuickBooks and click that up now link, and just go ahead and update it to the new connection on the back end so that we get all the benefits of more reliability, less prone to errors, and things like we know we are having the current system. Okay. And so who's impacted? This is going to be any QBO or QBSE company with one of these big financial institutions. And so you can see Capital One, Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citibank, USAA. These account for a large percentage of all the connected accounts in QuickBooks. If you're connected to something not on this list, what we have today is still going to work. We'll just keep going, where they are. But over time, we're going to be onboarding more and more people onto the new connection type. The new connection type is a kind of a standard called OAuth, and it's a way for banks to make customers' data available for third-party apps. Because essentially, in this case, that's what Intuit is. It's an app for the bank, from the bank's perspective, and so we're pulling the transactions out of the bank as a clearing app. So as time goes on, more banks will make this OAuth connection available for us, and as soon as that's available for QuickBooks, we'll plug it into our system and kind of update our current system to the new OAuth type. And so kind of the last thing is overall timing. We're working, each financial institution, so Chase or Wells Fargo, has its own schedule. And so we're working on new connections, making sure that we get some new connections through, kind of running water through the pipes. Long before we put any of these in front of customers, we've actually done a lot of testing with the current connection and then downloading transactions through the OAuth connection type, and comparing each transaction detail to make sure that debits are coming over as debits, credits are coming over as credits. So we've done a lot of testing over the last 6 months or so, to really make sure that these are robust connections. But even then, we're going to slowly roll it through customers, and in most cases, we'll open it up to new connections first, and then we'll start seeing waves of current customers get those migration notices up on their banking page. And then once we start to migrate, each company will have a limited time, generally be somewhere around 30 days. And then once that end date is passed, the transactions will no longer be downloaded under the old connection type, and they'll be forced to connect through the new OAuth type. And so kind of like I was saying, it should be mostly behind the scenes. Shouldn't really affect any of the day-to-day interactions with the banking page. It's only when you're trying to set up that new connection, or if you have connections with these big banks. Okay. And so other important factors to remember with this new connection, some financial institutions only allow the primary user on the bank's login to be able to set up app connections. FIs usually refer to this as like delegate users, meaning that there's that primary user at the bank and then other secondary users that can do most things. So you may see, and Chase is an example, where only the primary user with the bank can actually go through the update now process successfully or add the new account. So you may need to find that primary user on the bank's page. And then the other thing is that in the past, it's pretty standard that we've brought in 90 days worth of transactions. In the future, some FIs will actually allow us to go back further as a positive. You can get even more transactional data without having to mess with a CSV file or something along those lines. But there will be one or two that actually may not even allow 90 days. They'll allow something less, in which case you can still use a CSV file to bring in the difference. And so just kind of as you go through the screen, you may see how much transaction data we're bringing in may vary slightly depending on which FI you're connecting to. Just kind of want to bring it up as it's expected. We're doing what we can to make sure that we have the most amount of data available to download. But there may be instances where you have to use a CSV more often or less often. With that, that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Jason. We got a bunch of questions here. So if you could just back up to the 3 messages slide. I think it's a little easier to have that as a talking point there. So I just want to get clarification here. While we're going through the Q&A, if you have any questions related to the bank feed or feedback, go ahead and put them in there. We're not going to be able to troubleshoot your banking issues right now, bank connection issues, but anything related to this presentation, please put it in the question box. So on these 3 messages, they're going to see the first one, that blue one, right? First length of time, and then if they ignore it, then at some point in time they're going to start seeing that middle orange one, and then if the last day, then they will see that third one, that red one. Correct? Is that how that sequence is going to go?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so they'll kind of be given, hey, this is coming up, you should do this. Then it's warning like, hey, you have a limited amount of time, and then the last one is, hey, you've not paid attention to the previous 2, and so now you have to take action. No transactions will come over anymore until you do. Yeah, okay. So that's the progression, and they'll change over time as they get closer to the date for that particular account.
Okay, so that brings up my next question here is, obviously, once they get that blue one, that first message, if they notice that, they can go ahead and update that, and that's going to take them through the flow. And I just want to have you touch bases on what the difference between that connection is for the accountants. What credentials are they doing right now, and what are the new credentials? If you want, maybe even back up to that slide where you show the bank connection, that might be easier to explain that, because there's some confusion on those credential things. So let's go ahead and maybe explain what the difference between those 2 are.
Yeah, so this slide I'm on currently is the current experience to set up a new bank account. And these credentials here on this kind of the second little window is the credentials at the bank site. And so all of the credentials here will be whoever obtains the credentials to log into the bank site. And so I think in most cases the accountants probably won't have this, right? Because they'll have their clients actually set up the bank connection. The account might be doing all the work in the banking page. It's actually the client who enters the credentials. And so that'll be the same, right? So whoever has access to the bank account where the client is, has their accounts, that's who will have to enter the credentials. And it's not QBO credentials, it's definitely the bank credentials. And the credentials on this second page are the same credentials that are kind of on this fourth little page, in the Chase window in this instance. And so the credentials they're using today will still be the credentials they're using in the future. We're just logging into the bank a different way on the QuickBooks side to pull the transactions. And it's kind of a newer technology. We're accessing it like an app where we weren't before. And so, but the credentials are probably owned by the client. And so it'll probably be something where you have to send a reminder to your client to be like, hey, you should see a little window, little warning on your banking page. Can you log in, click update now, go through the 3 or 4 screens, enter your bank's credentials. So I'm assuming for this audience, most of it will just be informing the client to take this action. Yeah.
Okay, so that brings up my other question. You're right on the same page there. So when you're choosing the accounts, that last bottom corner of the slide there, some of our accounts have, I saw one yesterday, probably had 40 bank accounts when you log into the bank, and they have, the company owner's got 8 different QBO companies. So what I'm wondering here is when you check, let's say you just check those top 2 accounts, that is going to enable that connection from the bank for those 2 accounts only to the QBO, and then when he goes to the next QBO, is that specific to those specific accounts enabled for that app connection, if you will?
Yeah, so when you're going through this flow in, say, QBO Company A, right, and we're going to connect our Chase account, and when I log in, I land on this 5th screen, my Chase login has accounts for Company A and Company B in it. When I'm logged into Company A going through this flow, I only want to choose the accounts that belong to Company A, and I'll give access to just those Company A accounts. And then separately, I'll log into QBO Company B, go back through the same flow, and then the second time around when I'm in Company B, I'll choose only the accounts that belong to Company B and click Give Access, which is the same thing that's happening today. You're just doing it after this page, right? Because when you log in today, it gives every account that you have with that login, and then you map the ones to the chart of accounts. And I guess I should have attached a screenshot here. But it's the same thing that you're doing today. It's just we're presenting a screen closer to the start.
Okay, cool. So I just want to highlight everybody there that when and this Chase example is just that we had to choose one bank. That's actually logging in through the bank. So the login connection is really the difference. Your workflow is going to be almost identical. I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that. 90% of this is a back end. We're replacing the engine in the car, if you will. You'll still get in and drive it the way you normally do. We're gonna. There's a few other specific questions, if you just real quickly give everybody a feel for the time frame, because this is going to be kind of a long rollout, but yet we still have enough significance here. And as you're answering this, what about credit unions? Are they going to be coming online? And kind of just if you give everybody a general overview of what the time frame is here, they can expect to start seeing this.
Yeah, so actually if we talk about what's available today, there are a few Chase and Capital One items that are actually live today, in QBO. And if you type in Chase, for instance, in the search for your bank field, there's 20 or 30 different options. It could be Chase Business or your Chase Personal or your Amazon card with Chase or one of the kind of white labeled airlines cards, right? Like Southwest Airlines, powered by Chase type of thing. And so we've enabled this new connection type on a few of those kind of white labeled cards. And so if you have like a Southwest Airlines or one of those are live today. And so as we go forward in the coming month or two for Chase Capital One, we'll start using the kind of the bigger banks or the bigger options for Chase Capital One. Right. So right now I think there's something like, if we add up Chase and Capital One, there's something like 60 options to choose from between the two of them. I think we have about 25 enabled for the new connection type for new connections. Today we have not really started with any migrating into the existing connections, but we will in the coming weeks. And so that's the kind of Chase and Capital One schedule. Wells Fargo new connections should be, within a week or two, we'll start turning on the switch for a couple of those smaller, Wells Fargo branded listings. And then, USAA is a little, maybe 2 or 3 months away for that. We'll start with it. Bank of America is probably within the next month or so. And we're going at a pace that is, the best for the customer. And so, as we launch, if there's any errors, which we really haven't seen any yet, once we got it to, in front of customers, we pause, make sure we, resolve that issue before we go forward. And so we want to get, all of these available as soon as possible. But, we're going at a, pace that's best for, customers, and we're not going any faster than that. But realistically, the kind of, this sort of listing, for these, 6 biggest ones, I was assuming that, everyone would be new connections and migrated user over, and somewhere in the, I don't know, next 4 to 6 months. But we'll see how it goes, and, we'll go from there.
Well, I just wanted to highlight that you said guess 4 to 6 months, so that way this is going to be an ongoing process. We have millions of bank connections, so it's, we don't want to flip the switch on 1 million bank connections, at one time. So I hope everybody can understand that. So, and you mentioned it kind of in passing, but I have some questions here on credit cards. For this process, a checking account or a credit card on the list when it becomes active, is that going to be any difference, or is that going to be the same workflow?
It'll be the same workflow. We know that there's certain account types that, QBO doesn't necessarily handle well today, like a investment account. Those type of accounts will kind of be the same, where we won't really support them very well. But your checking, your savings, your credit cards, most loan accounts, those are all fine. They work today, they'll work in the future. They'll get, if that listing becomes available for the new connection type, when you're searching out a new account, anything that's, under it should go with it, with the exception of those few, like a mortgage or investment account.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Jason. Okay, so that's going to, I think, take a lot of pain out of the bank connections for at least, that list of banks there was probably 50% of all of our connections, so that's going to be huge for us.
Yep.
As we move over. So,
somewhere in that range. I don't know the exact number, but it's somewhere in the range of 50%. Oh, and one thing that you did mention was credit unions, and that is something that we're looking into. I don't know if everyone's aware of this, but most credit unions actually use just a couple of big, there's just a couple of companies that provide the platform for most credit unions. And so we're working with a couple of those, big companies that provide that service for the credit unions. And so once we get those, we'll have 20,000 credit unions available on the new connection, or so. I don't know the actual number. I'm just kind of throwing that number out there, but there'll be a large majority of credit unions become available for the OAuth connection once we work with those, 2 or 3 big kind of platform systems for the credit unions.
okay. Yeah, I know that was a question that came up a couple of times here today in the question log. So if you have any other questions on this process, go ahead and put those in that question box, and Jason will be reviewing those shortly after the webinar today. And 2 reports that everybody's asked for. You know, when you get payments, make payments to a bill or an invoice, you know, how is that applied? How does he show up in the reports? So to present this topic today, we have James Rizzo in Mountain View. He's kind of been here about a year. And with these reports, it kind of fits into the team, because the team he works on really wants to make sure that we're giving you, our accountants, the data that you need at your fingertips when you need it. So he's passionate about using that data to make your lives easier. So thanks for presenting today, James.
You're welcome, Wes, and thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is James. In hindsight, I should have probably put something on this slide about being a new father or not. I'm not a new father, but hopefully someday. Today I'll be talking a little bit about 2 new reports that are coming soon to the Report Center. The first one is the Bills and Applied Payments report. And so we know that today in QuickBooks, if you try to see which payments are paying which bills, you have to click into each of those payments individually, which we know is kind of a pain. We also know that the bill stub limit in QBO is 13. So if you are paying more than 13 bills with a payment, it gets pretty difficult to be able to send a stub to your vendor. With this report, you can see a complete and comprehensive list of all of your bills that have been paid with a payment and the payment that they're associated with. You can also export this as a bill stub. And so this is going to be available on the reports page under the What You Owe section, and it's somewhat similar to some of the ways that the check detail report can be customized in QuickBooks Desktop for those of you that use QuickBooks Desktop. The next report is the Invoices and Received Payments report. It is exactly the same in all ways as the Bills and Applied Payments report, except for it deals with invoices and the payments you received against them. So I'm going to jump into QuickBooks here and give you guys a quick demo. So you go to the reports page. I'll start with the Bills and Applied Payments report. So it's under What You Owe here, Bills and Applied Payments. And here you can see your vendor is the group that you can collapse. You've got all of your payments to them in bold here, and all of the bills that those payments paid right under. And same thing for the Invoices and Received Payments report. You got your customers as the groups here, the payments you received against your invoices from them, and the invoices under. And this, like any report, can be customized to your liking. You can select different columns, and you can change the customer here. And that is it. Quick demo for today. I'd be happy to take some of your questions.
Okay, thanks, James. That was quick, a little quicker than we thought it would be, but that's fine. What's the time frame on this? In fact, if you could go back to the reports page just to highlight where we get to those reports, just so they kind of let that burn in their brain there a little bit under the customers. Sure. You owe. Okay.
So the Invoices and Received Payments report is under Who Owes You, and the Bills and Applied Payments report is under What You Owe. And like any report, these can be favorited. You can hit the star there, and they'll stay at the top.
Cool. So what's the time frame where everybody's going to start seeing this? Is everybody going to see them tomorrow, or is this going to be a rolled out phasing on this?
We have already started to roll these 2 reports out. We're out right now to a very small percentage of the total user base. And over the next few weeks, we're going to be slowly dialing that up to 100% of users in the US and then global thereafter.
Okay, I want to kind of address that over the next few weeks, comment a little bit. And that's why we have some of these things on the webinar a little bit early, because that way when you do see those features, you're not shocked. You don't have to have that difficult conversation with your customers because they see something that you don't. So that's why we try to get all these presentations early in that rollout game here on the webinar. So I had a question here. Is these new reports available for Essentials and Simple Start or just on Plus?
The invoices and received payments is all three SKUs. The bills and applied payments is only Essentials and Plus because you can only pay bills in Essentials and Plus.
Okay, so that makes sense because of the other options. Okay, so
Yep.
let's go back to, let's bring up one of the reports dynamic there. Let's go ahead and jump in and bring up one of them. Doesn't matter, either the bill or the invoice.
Sure.
And so if we customize this, can we get, in this case, a bill number to show up as a column there?
Yes, I believe, let me see.
Yeah, there's the transaction.
It should be
there.
selected here. I just don't, I think in this company, I'm not sure if we have numbers on any of these bills. Let me just double check. Okay, so there's bill number 1, 2, 3, 4. Save. Yes. Close. Okay, yeah. So yes.
Okay. So that's actually a perfect demo to answer that question. So it's right there in that column, and there's the numbers. So let's see here. If I have any more, we got somebody saying, hey, this is going to be good. So save a lot of work. That's good. I want to thank everybody for attending today. There'll be a follow-up email with some links. Here's a few links. And I want to thank you for attending. And we'll have it posted. The email that'll go out here in about an hour will give you that information as far as where you can go find that. And the handout actually has that link in it as well. So thanks for attending to everybody today. And you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks. Bye-bye.